In these problems, we have some inequalities, and we're solving for x, and then also they're asking us to graph, so we'll sketch a little graph of what the solution would look like. You know, solving inequalities is a lot like solving equations. So in the beginning, you should just think about this as an equal sign and not worry about it too much unless you have to divide or multiply by a negative. But for right now, let's just go ahead with this one as if we were solving an equation. And I think the first thing I would do is distribute that 2. So we would end up with 4x minus 1 is less than or equal to 2x plus 2. And then I want to get the variable just on one side of the equation, so, or the inequality in this case. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Now I've got 2x minus 1 is less than or equal to 2. And I want to isolate the variable, so I'll add 1 here. And we've got 2x is less than or equal to 3. And finally, I want to divide by 2 to get x alone. And I get x is less than or equal to 3/2. So how would we graph that? I would graph this on a number line, most likely, and put in my point 3/2 here. And x is less than or equal to, so x is going to include 3/2 and go this way. So we'll shade this area in on our number line. Let's look at one more. So here's another inequality, and this one looks like maybe it's going to be a little bit of a pain because of all these fractions. But you might want to look at these closely before you jump in. What I notice here, if you combine like terms on this side, I've got 17/16 and 15/16, both positive. So if I were to add those together, I would get 32/16, which is actually the number 2. So this plus this equals 2. So let me rewrite that. I think that's going to simplify things quite a bit. Yeah, so that's a little bit better. We're not dealing with 16ths. We've only got fourths going on here now. Now, there are a lot of ways you can move forward with this. You can just go ahead and do what you would normally do, maybe add 1/4 x over here and just work through this whole thing with fractions. And that's fine if you're comfortable doing that. I like to get rid of the fractions. And the way I do that, in this problem, it's pretty easy. The only denominator I have is 4. So if I were to multiply everything in this inequality by 4, I would end up with, well, 1/4 times 4. So that's going to be a negative x. 2 times 4 is 8. 9 times 4 is 36, so that's 36x. And then negative 5/4 times 4, the 4's cancel, it's going to be negative 5. And I just find that easier to work with than all the fractions. Now I want the variable just on one side, so I'm going to add x. And I get 8 over here and 37x. Let me move this up and give us a little more room. Minus 5. Now I'm going to add 5 here. And I get 13 and 37x. We're going to divide by 37. And so we get x. Now I'm kind of reading this backwards because I ended up with x on the right side rather than the left, but I get x is greater than or equal to 13/37, and I don't think this is a fraction that I can reduce at all. So let me just write it the other way. This is really the same thing. X is greater than 13/37. And again, if I were to graph this on a number line, I would put in my point here, 13/37, and then it's greater than or equal to, so we include the point, and then we shade in that direction. So that's a little bit of work in solving inequalities.